Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. It's Caleb and Brown. Have you done it yet? Yes, go to XRPwealth589.com and open up your free account today. Why? Because you get human customer service along with everything else. No hidden fees, no hidden spreads, one flat rate, free institutional grade custody, and let me tell you what else, human customer service. Whether it's a technical issue or whether you want to speak to a prime broker, we all know what happens when the bull cycle hits. The exchanges freeze up. But you don't have to worry about that because you can put your market orders in with your human rep. This is what I'm talking about. Start getting the best night's sleep you've ever had since you've been into crypto. Go to xrpwealth589.com and sign up today. Let's get into the numbers, ladies and gentlemen. It is $3.42 trillion market cap for crypto. We're off 1.6. Bitcoin 105,000 plus. Ethereum 2,500 plus. XRP's $2.25. We're up 3.1 on the 24. We're up 5.1 on the 7-day. Look at the range of price. We're ranging between 217 and 226 where we're at currently. So we'll keep an eye on things as we move through it. Interesting layout for the news today. Let's start with David Sachs, the crypto czar, crypto AI czar. Take a listen to this clip.
That's something that we're going to have to decide.
David, recast for us, if you will, the value of Bitcoin specifically, cryptocurrency and blockchain technology in general. As we're now in the Trump administration era, we're in the back half of the 2020s. Back 5 years ago plus, there was talks about, using it as a means of buying things. Now it's more about the store of value and the way, perhaps hedge against inflation in various currencies. What do you see as the real value and the reason why the United States government should be paying so much attention to it?
Well, first of all, they're going to use it to conflate the price of Bitcoin and then use it to pay down the debt. This is what makes me feel like it's a government psyop. But let's hear what David says.
Well, I think there's a few different aspects here when you're talking about digital aspects. So first of all, you got Bitcoin. It was the first digital currency, and it's the original. It's the strongest one. In the parlance of the industry, it's the most lindy, meaning it's been around for over a dozen years now. No one's ever hacked it. No one's ever cracked the security around it. And so it is an excellent store of value. So that would be point number one. Bitcoin is run on, as you know, a blockchain. It's basically a distributed ledger, which is essentially a form of decentralized computing. And that platform can be used to create a lot of other types of products. And so that would be sort of technology area number two, is all the innovation that can be built on top of blockchains.
Well, that's stretching it a bit. That's where Bitcoin has problems, right? I know everybody's working on some layer twos there, but they're still working. Here's the thing, it's funny about all of this. You can't launch a stablecoin on the Bitcoin network. Nope, just saying, right? Everybody should understand that part. This is how it's gone from the white paper to be peer-to-peer cash to a digital store of value. By the way, we are watching Wall Street hijack Bitcoin, and they're going to do whatever they want with it. And again, for me at my house, everything we've gone over here, the heart of the algorithm is the SHA-256. And what is that? That's a patented technology by the NSA. But yet they want you to believe that somebody in the basement or four somebodies in a basement decided to make this money. I'm not buying it. But nonetheless, I'm not buying the premise behind it. But I know that if BlackRock's got exposure to it, Fidelity's got exposure to it, and the U.S. government is soon to get exposure to it, along with a whole bunch of other major corporates, well, then I'm going to use that for cover as an investor. As long as they're investing in it, I will probably get exposure to it too, because I'm stacking my pennies next to their dollars, and that's who they are to me. So that's how I'm approaching this, but at least I understand where I'm putting my money when I do. Not financial advice. Let's keep moving. Looking at this, the latest Tether CEO says there are no plans for IPO and calls a $515 billion valuation a bit bearish. Listen, I know he's being glib here a bit, but it's real, at the same time, because the truth is that we are going to see the market open up after legislation is passed and signed. And when that does, it'll probably make that $515 billion valuation look like nothing. and it'll probably go to $1 trillion or more. And again, legislation is going to really decide how quickly Tether continues to grow or not. Will it be pushed out for 2 years outside of the U.S. market because of legislation? That's what's happened so far in MiCA in the EU for Tether, and they're quickly trying to establish by launching a stablecoin project inside of that regulatory to still get exposure to it. So it's all things that are in motion that we have to watch. But the legislation is really what I believe is the catalyst for all of us, and it will show us so much from stablecoins to where the crypto market's going to go and how fast it's going to get there. And we know this from Van Eck, 21 shares, Canary Capital, urged the SEC reinstate the first to file rule, giving the ETF approval based on who applied first as done in non-crypto cases. So it's because they are first. They want. This is pretty easy piece of news, right? These guys want the first mover advantage. We were smart enough to file first, so we want to be able to get in there first. And look, this is a race to see who can get the biggest XRP ETF created, and this matters. So I think the people who file first should get to go first. And let's not forget Apple, X, Airbnb, and Google are reportedly in early talks to integrate stablecoins, signaling big tech's growing move into crypto and payments. Now, this is where the news is shifting a bit, and we're going to start talking about this, plus gold, plus other things, a new Fed chair, and how I believe what we're seeing take place with digital assets is not just digital assets. It's all happening in tandem because of what's going on with the dollar and the economy. We'll get there. But you know, all the big boys are waiting to do a push notification to all of the users of Google, Apple, and X, and so much more. In one push of a notification, everybody has over 3 billion people will have crypto wallets. And it could look just like this. Here's Smoke Dog showing a diagram, product vision. Looky here. And look who it is. Isn't this interesting? Meta up there, formerly Facebook. You see how Ripple's tech stack sits here. Get inside the ACH, the Visa, PayPal's, all the different systems with XRP in the middle, making this market in a new synthetic digital on-chain economy. It's where we're going. And you could see from the news of them getting into stables that that's how you start to bring these companies on-chain. Now, with that being said, look at what's going over here with SBI, who's been a longtime partner with Ripple in the use and advocate of XRP. As of May, according to Wrath of Common here, SBI Holdings reports that they are in active discussions to handle, you guessed it, stablecoin, the RLUSD, in SBI VC trade. They speak of Ripple payments using XRP still. It will be interesting to see what happens for them if and when the Japanese yen stablecoin comes online. And this is exactly what I think we're going to see, just like we've seen the Brazilian real stablecoin come online and 2 different euro stablecoins come online. This is how you connect and tie in the different regions of the world so you can begin to make markets in the new digital on-chain economy. And then the velocity of money will just take off in an exponential way at some point, I believe. Now, looking right here, just going into this diagram, you see Ripple Payments, international money transfer solution utilizing XRP, adopted by more than 100 financial institutions across over 55 countries. In March, received the first license as a blockchain-enabled payment provider from Dubai, as we've reported here. RLUSD, a U.S. dollar peg stablecoin issued under a trust license with the New York Department of Financial Services, highly coveted license, tokenized U.S. Treasuries by Ondo Finance, right? In conjunction with Biddle Fund with BlackRock, a DeFi protocol for real-world asset tokenization can be purchased and redeemed using RLUSD. RLUSD is also expected to be used as collateral and for other purposes at Hidden Road. So you can see all of this coming together here to make markets globally. SBI jointly established SBI Ripple Asia with Ripple through SBI Remit, began offering Japan's first international money transfer service utilizing XRP in 2021. So what I love about this is that it has been tested a long time. And here is the highlight of that Hidden Road deal with Ripple and how they've now opened a new office in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, How about that? You know that we got the approval from the FSRA. So this is all time. Again, now we've just look, Japan, right? Brazil, Europe, right? United States with the real US. I mean, you see all of these markets being tied together right before our eyes. And I'm highlighting this again. We covered it yesterday. The SEC approves NASDAQ Crypto Index, which includes XRP, ADA, XLM, and Solana, as well as Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can imagine. And I like this post here that John Deaton picked up on it. He said, this time 2 years ago, June 2023, the SEC was arguing all XRP are securities, even if acquired independent of Ripple, including purchased off exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Uphold, and others. And 2 years later, we have them listed now on NASDAQ's price index. Never quit fighting. This is exactly what I've seen it to be, right? This is exactly how we've seen it. This is as much a legal case as it is an audit and vet it process. Remember, the SEC sued Microsoft, the SEC sued Amazon, the SEC sued Tesla, and look at where they are today. We're about to come out of the fray of this case. And when we do, it is with clarity. And then we're getting the wins of ETF spot approvals, spot XRP ETF approvals. Then we're getting the passing of the legislation. Oh my gracious. You talk about tailwinds. How about rocket launch? This is rocket fuel waiting for us. And all of this is being set while JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, is telling everybody the bond market is going to see cracks. And why is that important? Because of stable coins.
You know, these are very large numbers. You've seen it a little bit. You know, you had the crack in the bond market in COVID a little bit. You know, the government did the right stuff, then they massively overdid both spending and QE. We borrowed and spent $10 trillion from 2020 to today. Okay, and you heard the numbers before. We also bought $4 trillion of your securities, on top of the $4 trillion we bought in the first go-round. Those numbers are true globally, not quite as big as ours, but the QE of us was $8 trillion, the QE of the rest of the world was another $8 trillion or something like that. You're talking about huge sums of money. We don't really know the full effect of that. And you know, the bond dealers, which Gary mentioned, you know, inventories are much smaller than they used to be, partially because of rules and regulations. And you are going to see a crack in the bond market.
That's what he's got to say. And this is what I'm telling you, where everybody's excited about legislation, stable coins, and digital asset clarity. But the real secret is getting all of this done because there's problems in the bond market. And the only way to fix it is to create a new use case for the bond market. What is that new use case? Private issuance of stable coins, period. Full stop. That's what it is. So this is what's going to come next. The passing of stablecoin legislation, which, by the way, I have a fuller clip, more complete clip of Senator Lummis on exactly that. And you're going to love this.
We will start voting on the Genius Act, the Stablecoin Bill, this week. I don't think we're going to complete it this week. We'll probably have to go into next week because a number of amendments will be filed. But we have worked long and hard to bring Democrats to the place where they can vote for cloture. I think we're there.
So what are the remaining hurdles for Democrats? What have they told you that their concerns are? What's keeping them from getting on board completely?
Well, we have generally agreed to many of the amendments they wanted. There were concerns about illicit finance. We've addressed some of those. And we're just waiting to see what amendments are filed by both parties as we move the bill to full consideration on the floor of the Senate. One of the things that I'm looking for is whether the Durbin-Marshall bill, it will be attempted to attach to the stablecoin bill. It's not about stablecoins, it's about credit card swipe fees, but this bill may be seen as a vehicle to attach, and that would be a heavy lift to take a bill that already has been carefully negotiated and add a new subject that is that controversial.
So just one more on the timeline here for the American people who are watching.
Listen to this part.
watching and listening right now, in your view, what sort of week or month could this bill actually become law?
Well, we're going to pass it next week.
Okay.
And so it will provide new markets for U.S. Treasuries.
There's going to be a crack in the bond market. What did she just say?
It will provide new markets for U.S. Treasuries.
You better believe it will. And that's what this is about, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why we also have President Trump, and his decision will be out soon on who he's going to replace Jerome Powell with at the Federal Reserve, because Jerome Powell won't cut rates so he can refinance the debt at a lower rate so the country could get on. That's the problem here. Listen to this clip.
And if we had a good Fed chairman, you would lower rates. And you know what? If inflation happened in a year from now or 2 years, let them raise rates. But we're going out for long-term debt or short-term debt. We have a lot of debt coming due because Biden had all short-term debt mostly. And we would get a lower rate and a lower interest rate if this guy would lower rates.
But see, the Fed doesn't have our interest at heart. The Fed is playing politics here. They would have absolutely done whatever was needed for the previous administration and won't do it for this one. That much we're watching happen. Here's what's interesting. I want to see who he's going to name when it is time, because Jerome Powell's term ends in May of 26. I hope he brings in Judy Shelton, because I believe all of this has to be in conjunction done with the Fed. And at the same time, we're watching all of this go on with the fight between Trump and the Fed to get the rates cut so he can refinance by the end of the year. It's a fascinating development over the past 2 months that the chairman of the Federal Reserve openly acknowledged the global monetary order fundamentally shifted in 1971 with the collapse of Bretton Woods. We covered that clip of Jerome Powell last week or the week before. The U.S. Treasury Secretary publicly said the entire global trading system was anchored to gold until Nixon severed that link. At the same time, we're waiting for an audit on Fort Knox that the President of the United States said was going to happen, the golden age. And that's why I think Judy Shelton would be the right fit as the next chair at the Federal Reserve. And then we know this, members of Congress have introduced a bill to initiate the first comprehensive audit of America's gold reserves in decades. Yes, this needs to happen, ladies and gentlemen, because all of this is tied together. This is why we have a massive gold precious metals panel at XRP Las Vegas, because the financial system we're going to doesn't exclude gold. It is going to have gold and precious metals as a huge part of where we're going, just as it is digital assets with utility. That's where we're at right now in this day, and it's all coming together. And remember, the president has said, I want all the crypto legislation and the tax bill on his desk to sign by August. Well, it's June. The countdown is on. And what's this market look like when it's all in place? Eggrad Crypto says, tick-tock, it's time to break out. Remember, he calls for a real big breakout in July here. He says the key micro signal, just 3 daily closes above 222. When that happens, it's showtime. Well, XRP, stay steady and strong. Together we rise. We shall fly so high. And you know what? I can't wait. And shout out to Eggrad Crypto for all the information he shares out here and all the other technical analysts who do as well. I know they catch a lot of heat, but you know what? I think when we get this fundamental news, which is the legislation passed, I think we're going to see the opportunity for a lot of these price targets to be realized. I just can't wait to see which one. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.